Hello and welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is Ivanov by Anton Chekhov, translated by Paul Schmidt, directed by Michael DeFilippis, and presented by the New American Ensemble at the West End Theater on West 86th Street here in New York City. But before I get into this rarely produced Chekhov play, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been seeing a lot of off and off Broadway shows lately, and I've been getting press tickets to them, and that is genuinely thanks to you guys who watch and enjoy these videos. So please keep it up, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me grow this channel and reach more people who love theater as much as we do. So what did I know about this show before going in? Well, I knew it was Chekhov. That was about it. So I took my Chekhov-loving friend with me so I could get a little context. And I'm really glad I did because Ivanov is not the most well-known Chekhov play. Here's a little backstory because this play has a wild origin story. Back in 1887, a theater owner in Moscow named Fyodor Korsh, you know, Theodore, commissioned a then 27-year-old Anton Chekhov, who at the time was primarily known as a short story writer, and he hired him to write a comedy. Chekhov responded by dashing off a 4-act drama in about 2 weeks. The premiere was, by most accounts, a disaster, and Chekhov himself was reportedly disgusted by the production. He went back, he rewrote it, and the revised version premiered in St. Petersburg in 1889 to a much better reception. Now here's the thing, Ivanov is considered Chekhov's first full-length play to actually be staged. And critics and scholars have always treated it as a kind of rough draft for the masterworks that would follow. The Seagull, Uncle Vanya, Three Sisters, The Cherry Orchard. Notable productions of Ivanov over the years include a 2002 National Theatre production in London and a 2008 staging featuring Kenneth Branagh and a young Tom Hiddleston. In New York, there was a 2012 staging at Classic Stage Company starring Ethan Hawke and a Lincoln Center Theatre production featuring Kevin Kline in 1997. And back in 1966, John Gielgud played Ivanov opposite Vivien Leigh. It is genuinely rarely produced, which makes this New American Ensemble production feel like a bit of a theatrical event for Chekhov lovers. So, what is Ivanov about? Well, our central character is Nikolai Ivanov. He's a Russian landowner who, when he was young, had dreams, ideals, and a genuine belief that he could change the world. He married a woman named Anna, who was Jewish, and she converted to Christianity and was essentially disowned by her family so that she could be with him because she believed in him that much. And now, years later, he's a mess. He's in debt. His farm is failing. His wife is dying of tuberculosis, and he doesn't even know if he loves her anymore. He has completely lost all access to his own joy. He is, if we're being honest, clinically depressed. But this is 19th century rural Russia, so there's no medication, no therapy, just a lot of vodka, card games, and people complaining about how bored they are. Around Ivanov swirls a colorful cast of characters. His scheming estate manager, Borkin, his buffoonish uncle, Count Shabielsky, the family he owes money to, the Lebedevs, whose daughter Sasha is desperately, hopelessly, youthfully in love with Ivanov. We have a pompous, self-righteous young doctor named Lvov, who is constantly moralizing at everyone, and a scene-stealing widow named Marta Babakina, who arrives looking like she wandered in from a slightly different, much louder play. And presiding over it all is Zinaida Lebedeva, the sharp-tongued, penny-pinching matriarch of the family Ivanov owes money to. It all builds to a melodramatic climax involving, as Chekhov is famously known for, a loaded gun. So let's talk positives and negatives. On the positive side, this is a really committed, largely excellent cast. I want to specifically call out 3 women who were very enjoyable. Quinn Jackson as Anna, Ivanov's dying wife, is genuinely heartbreaking. She plays the role with such quiet dignity that when things fall apart for her character, you really feel for her. Maya Shoham as Sasha brings this wonderful youthful energy and hopefulness. You completely buy that this young woman has fallen so hard for a guy who's basically an emotional black hole. And Alexandra Pearl as Marta Babakina is terrific. From the moment she walked on stage, I didn't even know what character she was playing. I could not take my eyes off her. She just has this great face. She has these big dark eyes, she had these rosy cheeks, and she has a face that just is made for comedy. That's not to say that she's not attractive, because she is, but she's just got this face that it looks like one of those paintings from long ago. She plays the role very broadly, which I don't usually love, but she made me laugh, so hats off. Zachary Desmond as Nikolai Ivanov does something genuinely difficult. He plays a man with no drive, no spark, no apparent will to live, and he makes it watchable. There's a restless nervousness beneath the despair that keeps you engaged with him. It's such a hard role because your lead character is, let's be honest, kind of an Eeyore. He's just so pathetically depressed that it often tips into being laughably pathetic. And maybe that's part of the Russian sense of humor. I personally kind of liked when it just becomes so dark that you have to laugh. I also want to give credit to Ashley Basil's set design, which I thought was simple but evocative. She has mulch on the ground, a wood platform in the center, and they use the stairs leading up to the lighting grid as part of the staging. At one point, the actors were literally running up into the lighting rig. So for a minimalist design, it really evokes that rural, earthy, stuck-in-the-mud feeling. The costumes are by Adeline Santello, and they were effective too, period appropriate with some wear and tear for the country folk, or maybe they've just been used a lot. Win-win. Now, on the negative side, my main issue was with the tone. This play is truly Chekhovian in that it is both a tragedy and a comedy in equal parts. Many of the dramatic scenes were played beautifully, truthfully, grounded, real, but some of the comedic scenes got pushed so hard into broad farce that they felt like they were from a different play entirely. And here's the thing, in a space as intimate as the West End Theater, which I love, you just don't need to work that hard. We are close enough that someone can and often does spit on you. So you don't have to play to the back of the house because there is no back of the house. It's just like 3 or 4 risers. I also felt that several actors were directed to come in hot, loud and big at level 10, but sometimes they just stayed there. And characters would arrive shouting and angry and they would stay shouting and angry, or they come in crying and they continue crying. And I just wanted more of those beautiful Chekhovian gear shifts where something funny suddenly breaks your heart or something heartbreaking suddenly makes you laugh, because that's the brilliance of Chekhov. And I thought those variations were missing in some of the bigger scenes in this play. The other challenge was the physical space, because this is a small theater and the set designer has just given us a little square to work on. And I think this is really more of a production constraint more than anything else, but that center platform was just too small for a cast of 11. In scenes with 8, 9, 10 people on stage, the director basically had to line everyone up like a school photo just so we could see them. In a fully staged production, you'd have room for furniture and the actors could work around that. You'd have props for them to interact with. You'd have room to move. And without those things, the actors ended up not having a lot of choices. They ended up pacing or sitting and standing and sitting and standing or grabbing their own heads. And it starts to feel kind of restless. Not because these actors aren't skilled, but because the space just isn't giving them enough to really do their work. So, was I bored? No, and that is surprising considering how long this play is. And considering that I walked into this play knowing literally nothing about it. Ivanov is genuinely well written, even in this translation, which I found sharp and very alive. And I was engaged with these characters from start to finish. So for a first play, it's good writing and it shows the brilliance that is going to come out of Chekhov. The show runs about 2.5 hours with intermission, maybe even longer, and I didn't feel it. I was genuinely surprised when I looked at my clock and saw how late it was. And maybe it helps that the word bored is practically a character in the play itself. People are constantly moaning about how bored they are out in the Russian countryside. I mean, I'm telling you, if you made a drinking game out of it and took a shot of vodka every time someone mentioned the word bored, I don't think you'd make it to intermission, but you'd understand where the actors were coming from. So was I confused? A little, mostly around the tone. I wasn't always sure whether we were in a drama or a farce or a melodrama or and sometimes the shifts between the two felt jarring rather than intentional. I also had a few moments where character behavior didn't quite track for me. Just a little example I'm pulling out of my brain. Zinaida comments that the Count didn't finish his tea and that the sugar was wasted. And then she turns and picks up the teacup and exits. And I thought, shouldn't she have picked up the teacup first and then noticed he didn't finish the tea? Or has she just been monitoring his tea consumption all evening? Maybe that's the choice. But that's just an example of a small moment of confusion, and there are a few of those, and they can sometimes build up. But again, I think a lot of this may come down to the constraints of a minimalist set and a small playing space rather than anything fundamental about the production itself. So, look, bottom line, this is a solid production of a fascinating and genuinely rare play. It's not without its rough edges, but we're off Broadway, so what do we expect? But the highs can be really high, and the cast is doing committed and skilled work, and it reminds me of something I already knew but need to be reminded of. Chekhov is funny. He is really genuinely funny. And when a production lets him be funny, when it trusts the truth of the moment and lets the comedy come from that rather than pushing, it can land in a way that no manufactured joke ever could. So here's the reason to see Ivanov. This play is almost never produced in New York, and yet it is the foundation of everything Chekhov went on to write. The Seagull, Uncle Vanya, Three Sisters, The Cherry Orchard, The Quattrumvirate. I don't know what the word for that is. Everything grew out of this play. So seeing Ivanov is like finding a sketchbook before you get to see the masterpiece. And if you call yourself a theater lover and you've never seen it, this is your chance. It may be a while before you get another one. So where can you get your tickets? I was fortunate enough to receive a press invitation to this production. I wish I'd gone earlier so I could have gotten this video out sooner, but better late than never. I sat on the aisle, which in the West End Theater means you're very, very close to the action. There's no bad seats. I love this space. It's got a huge ceiling. It's a fun space in this church. So you are very, very close to the action, like adjust how you cross your legs so an actor doesn't trip over you close. The full price of tickets is $45 and up. It was on TDF, but as this run winds towards its end, it's going to become more popular. It might be harder to get a TDF ticket. The theater's on West 86th Street, so take your trip up to the Upper West Side, check out Ivanov. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if you felt the acting was too broad, if it was truthful enough, if you think it's a play that should be staged more, how it fits in the canon of Chekhovian plays. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you at the next one.
Don't wanna drift away, I wanna stay inside the play. Keep me engaged, keep me amused with what's in front of me, 'cause I don't